You mentioned your meeting with the SEC as well. You have also called on the SEC for clarity around tokenizing off-chain securities. I want your take on what you actually think is missing today, even in the aftermath of the passage of these bills. And as an extension to that, you did submit a list of policy proposals to lawmakers. What would you say is the top priority right now?
It's really, look, I think it is just simply an extension of what we've seen today. The Stablecoin Act and the Genius Act is a great first step to getting this, because now we have clarity around what constitutes a stablecoin, what will be approved, what will people be allowed to transact with in the US when it comes to stablecoins, right? Now, we can take that same framework and apply it much more broadly to other things. Again, the stablecoin is a tokenized version of the US dollar. Right? And so you've taken the US dollar and put this on chain in the form of a stablecoin. Now, well, we can take that same framework and apply it to many other things, right? We can take this and apply this to different tokenized T-bills, as an example. It's a very popular product in crypto today. You could take this and apply this to private credit. You can apply this to other things, right? Other financial instruments and other types of assets in the real world, and have that same framework. What we're looking to do, right, is not, create a market that has no rules or whatever, right? What we want to do is have simple clarity around these rules so that we can continue to allow what we've seen in the stablecoin world, which is rapid adoption in the US dollar, right? And expansion in US dollar dominance all over the world, right? And allowing end users, right, to really get the safety and experience what the US dollar can be, but allowing also the US to continue to spread the dollar everywhere. We want that type of experience for all these different assets. Assets today have a hard time finding capital. So we want capital formation to happen for all kinds of assets all around the world, and to make that process of matching investors to assets that they want much more easily, right, in a much more straightforward fashion. Today, it happens through mixtures of brokers, through transactions. It's very expensive, it's slow, it's hard to transact in. But by making this all tokenized on chain, where you can actually identify the root source of this individual asset through cryptography, right, we can make sure that anybody around the world can access anything. It's not restricted to people in the US, not restricted to people in certain regions, certain classes, or certain dollar amounts, right? You can open up and democratize access to these assets all over the world. So anybody in the world, right, again, with a simple click of a button, can just push a button now and allocate into something like a high quality American asset and get yield from that, and be able to earn and be able to progress and move forward with that, instead of having to be relegated to something they can only access in their particular region, right? So the best assets can find the best investors, which allows capital to flow into the best opportunities and allow those entrepreneurs who need that capital to create the best products as well. So really, it should eliminate and increase the efficiency and improve the kind of innovation that we see all around the world from these assets.
Yeah, Chris, final question here. This is really the wild, wild west. You mentioned you're unregulated, and of course, in the past, we've seen plenty of hacks taking place in this space. Also, a lot of uncertainty for institutional investors still with regards to tokenization. So what can you do to protect investors who might be curious about this space, but still, kind of maybe a little tepid about getting involved, particularly on the hacking side? What can you do about that?
Totally. Look, it's for sure, it's a new paradigm, right? And any new paradigm has risks. It has things we have to improve on and things to add security to, right? I mean, we've seen already an incredible amount of interest and adoption from the institutional investors on tokenization, where you see people like Larry Fink at BlackRock touting the benefits of tokenization, right? We've tokenized all kinds of T-bills on chain. Their tokenized treasury bill product, BIDL, has reached, I think, nearly $3 billion in TVL on chain, right? So value being locked there, right, in market cap. We've seen other products, again, like tokenized equities, really taking some light as well, right? So we're seeing this adoption happen in front of our eyes, but it's still early, right? When we talk about tokenized assets, you talk about thousands of trillions of dollars in real world assets that you're bringing on chain. So how do we do this in a safe and compliant way? It's a couple different ways. One, like you said, there's legal structures and regulation that we need to put in place to make sure that people understand the rules, and the people that are issuing these assets are doing this in a safe and compliant way, so that the user can reliably allocate into these things. Now, the second thing is, when you put this thing on chain, how do you make this better, and how do you make sure that the hacking is not a problem? We've seen lots of smart contract hacks, seen lots of end user hacks, and all kinds of stuff happen there. And because it's an open and permissionless world, people can hack things, and it's sometimes you have a limited ability and limited recourse to get that back. Right? For many different ways, there are several different ways. You can impose rules at the end user level to make sure this education, so the end user knows what to interact with, how to interact with those assets and move things around. What we do at Plume, what we do with other ecosystems as well, is we also take those rules and bake them into so many of these protocols and bake them into the chain itself. So this way, what you can do, similar to stablecoins, right? If there is a hack, right, and if something is unsafe, you can always stop and freeze these things. So you can then have some recourse to make sure they go to the right place. right? Ultimately, and you're not just beholden to the fact that maybe somebody hacked you and all the money is gone, right? And so there are rules you can do at the sort of infrastructure level to put in compliance and controls, which we've done at Plume, right? And you can also do things at the end user level, at the application level, to make sure there's proper guidance so the users are not doing these things. Today, also, we have all kinds of audits and all kinds of hacks, protection hacks around our system, and of course, an insurance market that's been built around this thing as well. So I think similar to anything in the world, right? Systems improve over time, security improves over time, and right now today, what we're doing is adding on multiple layers of security around this to make sure that there is nothing, sort of multiple safeguards that you can fall back on to make sure that the end user experience ultimately, right, is a safe one and people can reliably allocate on chain and continue to invest and build into the ecosystem.